Welcome to today's edition of the Tenkara Angler Rod Report. Today we're going to look at Tenkara USA's brand new small stream rod, the Ukiyo. All right, so let's take a look at this brand new Ukiyo from Tenkara USA. It's a rod that clocks in at just under 10 feet and just under 300 centimeters. So it's definitely meant for small stream fishing. And it's one of those rods that's kind of following the new trend of a shorter collapsed length and not having a cork or foam grip, which is a pretty big departure from what Tenkara USA typically offers. I think all of their rods to date have had a cork or foam grip or handle at one time or another. I think this is the first one they've had that actually implements the the graphite blank, as the grip itself. It's definitely an interesting rod, and I had the pleasure of fishing with it, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But let me give you a quick overview about what the rod's all about. I guess first let's talk about the name, Ukiyo. What does it mean? I tried to find a translation on Google, and it was a little bit difficult. There were some that they didn't really make sense, didn't really tie back to fishing in any way. But the one that I'm going to settle on was one that basically refers to a state of mind, emphasizing living in the moment. So this is a rod that's clearly meant for you to go grab, hit the stream, have a good time, and kind of throw all your worries away. As we'll kind of go through the rest of the rod from tip to tail, as well as its performance, we'll see if it lives up to that billing. So let's take a look at all of the features of the Ukiyo. First, we'll start with what you get when you purchase a Ukiyo. You get a Tenkara USA hard rod tube, obviously a short one, since this is a short rod, but it is kind of hard with the screw-on caps. Also has some materials at the end that tell you how to rig a rod and a little bit more about the Ukiyo itself. Also comes with a stretchy rod sock, which I know a lot of people like to use instead of the tube, especially when you're backpacking or have it stowed away in your pack. And then obviously you get the Ukiyo itself, which I'm going to tell you, Tenkara USA did a great job again cosmetically on the rod. You may or may not like the stripes on the grip section, but the paint is beautiful. It's this beautiful deep royal blue. Super glossy, super shiny, clean, nomenclature on it. It says Ukiyo on one side, 300 centimeters, and it says Tenkara USA on the other side, 9.85 feet. It also has a little kibari on the one side and a fish, a trout, it looks like, that's on the line on the other side. So they did a great job with the kind of the fit and finish. This rod is really pretty. Beautiful paint job. Like I said, you may or may not like the striped grip, but different strokes for different folks, I suppose. Looking at the rest of the rod, I'll start at the tip section. As I mentioned, the rod does come with two tip caps, which I'll take out. It has that kind of wood tip at the top with the rubber section that kind of fits on the inside, as well as a length of extra Lillian loop, so you can kind of stow your tip cap, wherever you need to. It fits very snugly, in the end of the rod, so there's no worry about losing it. Also, as we kind of open the rod up a smidge to show you the Lillian, this rod does have I'll kind of put it on my shirt so you can see a little bit better. It does have a factory pre-knotted Lillian, so you cannot disassemble this rod for cleaning, at least the top two sections, just because that knot's too big. You could untie it. Obviously, I know some people like to do that, but as it comes from the factory, it is pre-knotted. There's plenty of length on there, so you don't have to worry about having a short Lillian or anything like that. I did mention the royal blue paint job, and all of the sections are painted blue except for the end two sections, which are black. And as you move down the rod, you'll see that each painted section has 3 silver stripes on it, accent stripes at the tip of each section, just to kind of give a nice little classy touch to the paint job overall. Kind of collapse this back down. We already talked about the paint job on this rod. Now we'll talk about the grip section. The grip section is, it's pretty nice. It's good in hand. It's not slick at all. They put a little bit of, I don't know what it is, grit or something like that, to make it very easy to hold. And it's got a nice, kind of width in your hands. I'll give the specific dimensions later, but it's a nice grip where you kind of grip up and down, and it's not too small in hand at all. Moving down the rod to the very end, there's a plastic end cap in the end, which you can put that second rod cap, tip cap in there if you want to. That's a patented Tenkara USA thing, I believe. It has knurled edges, so you can remove the end cap relatively easily for fully disassembling the rod. And then that end cap in the end has kind of a foam block in the middle. So as you collapse your rod, you're not smashing down the sections on the inside of the end cap. Overall, really well executed, great fit and finish by Tenkara USA on this Ukiyo rod. Next, we're going to go into some of the measurables. And I think I mentioned earlier in this video, this is a 10-section rod. If I didn't, I'm going to mention it now. Fully extended, I measured it to be 297 centimeters or 9.7 feet long. A little bit shorter than the dimensions that are printed on the rod, but honestly, it's negligible. It's basically a 300-centimeter rod. When it's fully nested or collapsed, it's just under 15 inches long, which kind of fits into, like I said, that trend of pack and pocket rods that are becoming very popular today. Just to kind of give a comparison, some people might see the dark blue rod and think of the River Peak Sangoku Special. It is slightly longer than that rod when put side by side when fully collapsed. Or maybe the Dragon Tail Kaida, which it is a bit shorter than when fully collapsed. So it does fit somewhere in between that kind of pack and pocket rod sort of length. Moving down to the grip, top to bottom, the grip is about 7 inches long or tall or whatever you want to call it. So it does give you plenty of room to manipulate your hand or maneuver your hand up and down the blank, whether you want to hold it up here or whether you're like me and you like to hold the rod by the bottom. It's also 3.3 inches around, so when you do hold it at the bottom, it feels just like any other Tenkara rod. It doesn't feel kind of small in hand or anything like that. If you do move up, it might feel a little bit, might give you some hand cramps or something. But I know a lot of people are accustomed to fishing with Seiru rods that don't have a cork or foam grip as well. So if you're used to fishing a Seiru rod, you should really have no reservations over fishing this rod as well. I would honestly probably categorize it as a Seiru rod as opposed to a Tenkara rod, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. I did weigh it. This rod weighs 54 grams or just under 2 ounces. It kind of clocks in at like 1.95 ounces with the cap off, as it would be when you're fishing, which is super light. It's one of the lightest rods from the main rod manufacturers that are out there. It really feels like nothing is in your hand when you fish it. It's really a testament to the design on how light this rod is, considering all the paint and other features and benefits that are on the rod. Last but not least, I did do the penny rating and RFI, and this rod comes in at 20 pennies, which when you do the calculations for RFI, it puts it at a 6.7 or a 7.3 fast tip flex rod. And it definitely fished like that. This rod is a tip flex rod. It is on the faster side, but it's not bad at all, and I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go over the performance. Getting into the performance of this rod, I tested it over 2 days on a long weekend of fishing in the North Carolina hills. I used it one day on wild rainbow trout water and then another day on slightly larger but still relatively tight stocked trout water. On the first day, or on the first outing, with the wild small rainbows, it performed really, really well. I was actually surprised with how well it performed. Be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of rods that don't have cork or foam grips. They usually kind of cramp my hand. This one didn't. This one felt really, really good after a full day of fishing. And believe me, it obviously handled those, kind of 6 to 8 inch rainbows, wild rainbows that you run into, in those rhododendron choked hollers. We did have quite a bit of opportunity to fish it, not only for those fish, but I also moved to a different body of water in the afternoon that had some stocked fish, some larger fish in the range of, anywhere from, 10 to 16 inches, brown trout, rainbow trout, brook trout, and caught a mess of those as well. With this rod. This rod had plenty of backbone to handle those fish and brought them to hand super easy. It's actually one of the scenarios where having a faster rod or a tip flex rod, kind of came in handy, because when you're fishing tighter waters and you want to get that hook set, you don't want to have kind of an exaggerated hook set that like a full flex rod might give you. This rod handled setting the hook really, really quickly, really, really fast, and I was able to control fish in no time at all. In terms of what I used with it, I used mostly a 3.0 level line, an unweighted Kabari, but when I went to go fish for the stockers, I did throw a bead on there just to see how it handled it, and it handled it fine. By the time you see this video, the Ukiyo should be available for sale on the Tenkara USA website. I'm told it's going to retail for $190. So we'll put the link to purchase this rod in the video description below. We'd love it if you check it out on Tenkara USA's website. Also, if you get a chance, check out the written version of this Tenkara Angler Rod Report on our website. I'll also put the link to that in our video below. It not only has all the measurements I spoke to, but it has a bunch of additional pictures of the rod and close-up of the features, top to bottom, tip to tail. In closing, I'd just like to thank you for joining us today for this Tenkara Angler Rod Report. If you enjoyed what you saw today, we'd love it if you'd like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications on our YouTube channel, or just check out tenkaraangler.com for the latest in Tenkara news, stories, and information. Thanks a bunch, and we'll see you next time.